my degree's in zoology, and so I did do, in college I worked on a lot of research projects, and I worked more animal behavior and a little bit of speciation stuff with salamanders, and which was great, and song sparrow dialect, and equine research lab, a little bit with primates, and so, but then I actually went on to be a zookeeper, and that's when I started doing free flight bird shows, and typically we're doing conservation education in those shows. We're trying to we're using, having birds do natural behaviors, but trying to use it as a vehicle to get people excited about.
That as many mothers as possible maintain the chip. So if they were struggling for some reason with someone, if there was a health problem or for something, we could stop and give her something a bit more healthy that was going well, and so it's good.
They're such a vibrant green.
Yeah, they become even more vibrant as they mature. There's a lot more barring on their feathers at the moment, so after their first molt, they'll become a bit more intensely green, less mottling, and a bit more sort of creamy on the breast and that as well, rather than almost constant green all around.
Really amazing. Their beaks are shorter than I was anticipating. And it's believed they kind of use their little facial disc here, I suppose, to help, or no, with auditory stuff. Not sure.
I'm not. I just really don't know about that. The one thing I think that they really do use it for is that it keeps their face dry when they're in very wet conditions. And you can see, especially when they haven't learnt very well about how to keep themselves dry when they're young, and they'll just be looking absolutely dripping. All of their feathers will be soaked, except their facial disc will be nice and dry.
Interesting. I mean, obviously they've got some really long, specialized feathers compared to other parrots up there.
Focus section on humans.
Right.
Whereas another bird, the bird, Sinbad, who was raised the following year in much the same conditions.
Right.
But after he was weaned from hand feeding, we had very little to do with him while he was in captivity until he was released into the wild. And just sort of kept it to a minimum of going in and out and feeding. Right. He's quite different. He's much more normal. He's a bit half and half, actually, sort of imprint on both humans and Kakapos. But it was really obvious. He did all the normal things as he was growing up, spending time listening to adult males boom and learning a lot from them. But he will still try and mate with people, but he does all his booming. He set up his bowl next to other Kakapos, and he's mated, and 3 of these are probably his offspring.
Wow, oh, that's excellent, Yes, we watched the video, the Unnatural History.
Oh, right, yes.
Right, and Ron said there's a little poetic license in that.
We had that sad moment for Sinbad when they say he's a loser.
Sinbad the loser.
Painful.
But then Ron...
And from then on, and they're the 2 birds that will show mating behaviour. And then just about everyone else has since been raised with at least one other Kakapos, and they've just been great. And so the odd bird will retain their tameness and curiosity with people for many years, and some birds will just lose it entirely and have no interest in people, and you can't really tell them from a wild caught bird from Stewart Island.
Which is such a I mean, I know it's again that kind of unique situation, but really helpful. In the captive situation, or at least in the States, the birds that are incubator hatched and hand raised, they become and in most cases, too imprinted, that they're just, they really don't view other parrots as something of interest. Yeah. Although Don Brightsmith, I don't know if you're familiar with him in Peru, he works with macaws down there.
Yeah.
And he did a lot of study on diet, but they also pull the third chick and hand rear it, and they've been able, even though they don't wear costumes or are blind or puppet rearing, they've been able to release the ones that they've hand raised back to the wild, and they do hang around the facility for a while.
Yes. Yeah.
But then they start to return. They don't come back to the center and behave as a normal wild parrot. So yeah, really cool.
And we also try and we're releasing them earlier and earlier. So really, within a few days of weaning from hand feeding, and we'll release them into the wilds of codfish and let them find their own home. We'll obviously give them option of feeding on supplementary food for a while, but we'll find after 3 or 4 weeks they start to disperse from their release site and from each other, and then quite a few will just move away from their supplementary food
I think there's definitely some advantage to the fact that they seem to have so much hardwired, huh?
Yeah.
Makes it a little easier. Just gotta make more of them.
And they some of the food they eat, they dig up orchid bulbs. They're like little, they're just the size of small, like little potatoes, about this big underground. But even the hand-reared birds soon learn to find them. And initially with Sirocco, I think I was digging up orchid bulbs and showing them, and they'd eat them fine, but they don't seem to need to. They just sort it out.
Wow, that's pretty fascinating. Because they always say, 2 or 3 years with parents to learn everything to, like those, the California condor, the ones that were pulled from the wild, they're considered so critical to helping teach the captive raised ones how to survive out there and stuff.
These guys are only with their mothers for about 4 to 6 months after they leave the nest.
Wow, just amazing.